like to welcome you to the Unmasked Relationship Factor Series. I am AliNICOLE WOW, also known as Majesty. And once again, I am joined by my senior star King Celebrity-preneur Protégé, Tom. And it's always a joy to have a conversation with him because he certainly knows how to take a conversation to the next level as it relates to these different dynamics with relationships. So Tom, thank you again for being here.
Well, thanks for having me here again.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. I tell you, when we get together, we definitely have some expanded awareness types of conversations, don't we?
Yeah, always.
Yeah. You know, and that's what it's about, expanding the awareness and setting people up for their now and next levels of comprehension. So ultimately, they know how to take what they do, really to the next level. But in order to get to the next level, there are some things that really have to be unmasked. And I'm sure you agree with that.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So as always, you know, we don't necessarily have a planned agenda except for to come on and bring some empowerment, you know, to others, empowering themselves, helping them to empower themselves rather, so that they can, you know, make the best decisions moving forward as it relates to their relationship. Now, I do have a couple of things that I definitely would like to talk about. But, you know, before we possibly dive into any of that, is there anything that you want to bring up or bring in the space that you think needs to be unmasked?
No, just following your lead.
Okay. All right. Well, something, you know, of course, we're not limited to just talking about this, but a very uncommon topic, which is not really one that's even most known by really anybody in a sense, that it's not really talked about anyway, is escaping financial trajectory traps within relationships. And this is a very deep and layered, you know, type of experience, or so, a topic, I should say. And the reason why this one isn't talked about, not at this level, is because there's a lack of awareness even from those within the relationship field, or certain gurus that are not aware of certain unseen dynamics. And so definitely want to be able to have this conversation, because we know that finances is a big thing, and a lot of relationships break down based on financial stress. But one of the things that's unhidden, or that is hidden, I should say, are the fact that there are these unseen dynamics in terms of witchcraft. And yes, I said it. And also, again, being caught in someone else's trajectory trap and things that they have set up through conscious creation. So some people have been trying their hardest within relationships and don't understand why they can't advance financially. So let me just say this. This is not limited to like spousal relationships, dating relationships. I am talking about even parental relationships, family dynamics, where individuals have set up intentions to keep certain people stuck. Now, ultimately, everyone is responsible for themselves, but as the Bible says, people perish for a lack of knowledge. So if people are not aware of what is actually pending them and holding them in a place, they can't begin to move forward. You agree?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But this thing is real, you know, it really is. And so let me talk a little bit about this and hit it at a deeper level so that people can understand. So what this looks like is, let's say that you've looked at, or you've witnessed children who can't seem to leave their parents' house, and they're older. And you would think, okay, by now they should be out, or maybe they have been out several times and they've went and made their own lives, but somehow they keep cycling back around to those, you know, relationships, and coming back to their parents' house, I should say. And so some people would look at that individual as that, okay, something's wrong with them, or they're sorry, or they're freeloading, or something, they just can't seem to get it together. What I know to be true is that there are unseen dynamics where parents have actually set up intentions for certain children. They've assigned certain children not to be able to advance outside of them. And there are a lot of reasons why this happens. And sometimes it's not by evil design or so. But what does that mean when it's still happening, when it's still taking place? But it is a real thing. Now, this also happens within marriages or even within dating relationships, where someone has consciously created or set up an intention. So let me talk about conscious creation. And Tom, you know all about conscious creation. Yeah, it's where someone envisions you and they're imagining you playing out this certain role in this certain part. And they've done visualizations around it. People do it, you know, with jobs and things they want to manifest. But sometimes that can backfire because it's more of a self-fulfilling prophecy and not necessarily something that is really in alignment with divine will. All right. But what happens is that people start visualizing relationships going a certain way or certain conversations going a certain way. So they've already visualized you behaving in the ways that they desire. And maybe you needing to need them for something. And parents do this quite a bit. And like I said, not always by evil design, so to speak, but they'll set an intention where they want to feel like even if their children go off to be successful, they always want to feel needed. But sometimes there is a specific child that either is someone who's going to advance and they feel threatened by that. So they want credit for that success, or they just simply don't want that child to advance. So somehow they set an intention where financially that child will always have to need them. But again, this happens in relationships. But a lot of times they are visualizing, they are focusing on what they want and what they desire. And sometimes they will even give you a gift of something and you're thinking that that gift is, okay, they're being benevolent or they're being nice. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need something, so to speak, they're doing that, but they've wrapped an intention around that to where when you receive it, it's giving them some type of control or some type of power. And so this is, like I said, this here is a topic. It's unbelievable in terms of how it plays out. And even as I'm saying it, most people are like, no, that's not even possible. And we don't believe in curses and we don't believe in, well, you don't have to believe in curses and different things like that. No one really has the power over anyone. But what I do know is that there are intentions that are set. And there are some things that once they start taking place, if you're not aware and you don't know that people actually have the power to create in your world, if you don't have that knowledge, then they actually do at that time. And sometimes God allows that to happen too, because there's something that you will learn, something that you come up into a higher knowledge of. And actually it will stretch you into a grander financial trajectory. So it can be used to work for your good, but it certainly doesn't mean that it's not actually something being done against you, so to speak. So Tom, you have any thoughts around that before I go in a little more?
No, I'm just waiting on you to go in.
You're waiting on me to go in. I think that's a good setup. I mean, we got to get them with the basics first, right? I mean,
yeah, you got them. Yeah, you got them pretty good with these basics, but yeah, it's time to go all in now.
It's just time to go all in. Well, okay, so here's the deal. So I've set up a premise, and in terms of what these dynamics look like. So if we're going to go all in, then either we got to get in some more specifics or some personal stuff. You know? But the thing about the reason why this is, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I see myself in some of these things you're talking about with certain family dynamics, you know, in the past, because you know, like even when I was growing up, you know, well, first off, I saw a meme yesterday on Facebook. I don't remember. I saw a couple of people posting it. I don't remember all the specifics, but it basically said that your kids and grandkids, whoever, they can tell when you don't like them, or you feel some kind of way towards them. They'll see it, especially when you show up in a way for the other kids that you don't show up for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, that's very true. That's very true.
And growing up, even outside of my family, my sister could do no wrong, and I was the one that couldn't do nothing right.
Yeah, that typically happens, especially to the black sheep of the family, for sure. Yeah, that definitely happens. And the black sheep are often the ones too who get singled out a certain way, where a lot of different intentions, even financially, like I said, are set up a certain way. There's either intention set up where that person will not prosper financially, or set up that when they do prosper financially, it has to benefit them in some way. So almost like conditioning them to be some type of slave to, to the dynamic. So like I said, this topic here is one, like I said, it's very layered. It is on some levels. It is unbelievable, again, in terms of how these things play out and what's not known, and also how people are stuck and they're in trajectories. So Tom, I feel, let me talk about trajectories for just a moment. So we each hear about life trajectories and different paths, that you're on. In this case, I want you to look at trajectories like it is a blueprint in part of your DNA, in a sense. And so when someone can try to alter codes, and if anyone has ever seen Wreck-It Ralph 1, where the character Vanellope, her codes were tampered with, and I know all about this even from personal experience. When your codes are tampered with, where here she was the princess of that particular game, and then, well, it's a long story. I want to get too much into the dynamics, but anyway, the one who came in and turboed her game altered her codes to where she was locked outside of her own kingdom a certain way, and or queendom rather, and looked at as a glitch, and the other one went ahead and ruled in her place and wiped out the memories of everyone, where people looked at her as an outcast and something wrong with her, when the other one had done what we would consider to be witchcraft, in a sense, had done some alterations to her coding that she was not aware of, basically did alterations to the coding of the game. And so he's sitting up there in her position and she's outside of her own, like I said, queendom, so to speak. And so some people are probably wondering, why is it that I can't really get ahead? And at my best attempts, I'm not. And I know that I'm more than capable, but why is this occurring? Why does it seem like a false narrative has been created for my life around finances, and I just can't seem to move ahead? Well, these are some of the reasons. Why is because you do have family members, group dynamics who have come against certain things. And again, sometimes God allows this because there's a grander picture, and I'll get into that. But again, people perish without lack of knowledge. So some people are not aware that that is actually what's happening. Now, in saying all this, even though this is factual, it's not about assigning blame or all these different things. People still have to be responsible, but I do feel that they cannot be fully responsible if they are not aware of what they're dealing with. Right, Tom?
Right. Because I caught it growing up.
Yeah. People, and here's the deal, when you catch it growing up, what tends to happen is that you'll get in relationships where those types of dynamics can play out. So let me bring up another another example here. And probably many people haven't seen the movie Toys in the Attic. It's an old movie, old classic movie, black and white at that. Where in this movie, there was siblings and two sisters and a brother, and the brother was the youngest. And two sisters, they were living together, and everybody was sort of up in age, mature age, I should say. So they weren't young or anything. And the brother would go away and build his life, and somehow he would always end up having to come back to be with the sisters or so. But what was happening is that one sister actually had been obsessed with him from a young age. All this kind of went under the radar, but she would put money back just in case he fell on hard times. Now, most people would say, well, okay, well, what's wrong with that? Especially if there's a pattern set up. Well, no, here's the interesting dynamics. When she was doing that, she was creating the intention and energy for him to always return. So it may look like she's doing a good deed, but let me have this here just in case he has to come back. No, she was setting up intentions consistently for him to always have to cycle back around, for him to get some success at one point, somehow lose it, and have to come back to them. Well, it reached a point where those dynamics weren't really happening that way anymore. And but it was on the verge of it actually about to occur again. He had gotten married or so, and then came back and introduced his wife and different things. So the sister did not like that. So she was still trying to set up some intentions to keep him coming back. The older sister, because the one that was doing it was the middle sister, she figured out, and the brother did too, at some point, that something's going on here, and something's being done here, because she was causing some disruption. But it's very subtle the way that it was happening. So you would never guess, in the sense that that's what was taking place, but that is what was taking place. But they figured out, even the older sister, she had been being controlled too. She was like, I'm here with her. And even though we've got a good relationship and it's kind of 50-50 or however, but she realized her life was being controlled by being there with her. And even though the brother would go off and try to have success or whatever, this sister had been setting up these vibrational intentions. It's a form of witchcraft, all right, for that person to keep returning. So let me go to relationships like marriages and dating relationships and how that plays out too. Sometimes certain one spouse or so, or the other end, how can I say, let me back this up here so I can say this correctly, because I want to hit it from the angle of marriages and dating relationships. Okay, so let's say that there is one person in the relationship who financially cannot seem to get it together. And we talked about this in a previous segment, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about this in a previous segment, and about when we were talking about the women dynamics and women who disempower men financially. So in this case, where there's a spouse and one in the relationship can't seem to financially get it together, and not all the time, but there are times where when someone has made a determination that they want to be the financial supporter, the financial, supplier, and they want to be seen a certain way, kind of always in control, it can kind of disempower the other person. And again, if they're not aware of this, they don't know what's going on. Or people setting intentions that I don't want this person to ever leave me. Therefore, I'm going to need them to financially depend on me. So they keep creating scenarios, and the other person they're not aware of this. And even though they could be making their best attempts, they aren't aware of those dynamics that are going on that keep them sort of in a loop that they can never really financially get ahead to either get out of the situation or they can never financially get ahead to yeah, be the one who is, I don't want to say the breadwinner, the top breadwinner. So, because it's not a competition or anything, but it's just, this is an interesting topic. But see, I'm going on and talking and talking. I want you to get in on this, and then I can definitely share some more.
Well, like I said, I went through a lot of that. Like when I was growing up, I was always considered the screw up. And then, you know, we all have an inner child.
Yes.
And whatever it is you don't get enough of growing up, when you get older, you're going to go out and look for it.
Yep.
So that's how you end up getting in relationships that where you repeat the same patterns and you attract similar situations to like what you grew up in.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's what ended up happening to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, it happens. And then go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you know, like I said, my sister was the one that could do no wrong. I was the one that couldn't do right. You know, they gave her everything she wanted. They gave me what they wanted me to have, not just family, but you know, people outside of the family.
Well, yeah, because they set up a dynamics where that would continue in your vibrational pattern. And that's part of code altering too, where you, no matter what, even your best attempts to go out and have relationships a certain way, in most cases, you would go in place, you were always going to be the oddball or the black sheep or the outcast, right, so to speak. Right. And then you'd end up in relationships where someone was going to be more controlling, more dominant, more you know, not seeing you in the worth that you are, or even as the adult that you are. So these things are very, very layered.
Yeah. And then you know, like I said, I found myself, you know, repeating some of these same patterns, you know, and just wasn't able to shake them.
Oh yeah, no, and here's the deal. I don't want to say that it's impossible to shake them, but without the knowledge, oh, it is. It is.
Yeah, and I didn't have the knowledge.
Right. And yeah, that's the thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was in my 20s, you know, didn't have a father figure growing up, no type of male role model. So I was just out there, you know, flying by the seat of my pants.
Well, yeah, but then also too, you know, as we shared in other segments too, you know, you lost both of your parents, you know, you know, lost your mom at a young age. And so not having both parents in a sense, and then being raised by family members that were not for your highest and best good, you know, yeah, it sets you up for some interesting dynamics. One thing I've loved about you and your journey is that you've never really casted fault or blame in terms of certain things, but you do tell the truth in terms of, meaning, you know, that you're responsible for your own life. Even like now, right, you even sharing that, saying, well, you know, I didn't have a role model or a figure for this nature to kind of give me some guidance, but you still are someone who's empowered yourself to say, yeah, but I got to go out and find this knowledge, or I got to align with someone who has it so that I can know, you know, to move forward. And so, you know, decades later, you know, you're in a different place in terms of, you know, the understanding. And here's the deal. It takes time to break out of a trajectory trap. So I want to go back to this, right? It is not the easiest thing to make a shift. And I know there are a lot of mindset and the quantum physics types of things that, you know, want you to believe that you can make these subtle shifts and some quick things can happen. Yes and no. That you can get the awareness around particulars, but then there's work that has to be done. And one thing I do know is when people are caught in trajectory traps, most of the time they can actually shift out of those to start the exodus movement, if you will. They can make some quick shifts out of it, but before that happens, they've already been there for a long time. That I do know to be true. And again, when there's not the awareness around this area, if you don't know what you're working with, you don't know what you're dealing with, you don't know what you are trying to shift from. So if you aren't aware that someone set up some things, whether in your environment, that keep this vibration active, where you keep looping, and it, like I said, it's deep, much more deeper than what I can actually go in this, in this segment.
Yeah, we would need all day for it.
Oh, we could take really the rest of the year, seriously, on
Yeah.
this topic alone. But the thing is introducing and providing food for thought for others so that they can become aware of, I never thought about that. I wasn't aware of this. Maybe this is why this is taking place. Again, with this awareness doesn't now mean let's me assign blame and start going, telling this person, I believe you're doing this to me. No, none of that. Sometimes things you do in secret,
Sometimes it's best to keep it a secret.
That's right. That's right. You can have the knowledge and you can be aware, but then this is where you have to start receiving the guidance on what you need to do in order for this to shift. And for you to live your best truth. And really that's the dominant thing, even over trying to take action, is really aligning with what is true for me. What is true for me, and what trajectory should I be operating? What is my true narrative? What is my true financial narrative? Because see, I want to keep it here, because the finance area is typically where, again, people get trapped in that vibration, because normally if the money is there, people can't be pigeonholed into certain, or stronghold, if you will, into certain situations, not a certain way. And then if needing something to keep coming back around, the financial aspect is pretty much going to be the one, because even if someone needed somebody emotionally, they could go and find that somewhere else. But when somebody can set something up where you have to keep looping back around, or you can't seem to leave or escape the dynamics, that's a financial trajectory trap, and someone has set up in order for that to be that way. And so a lot of people have been spinning their wheels constantly trying to shift out of certain situations, and they keep finding that they can't. Well, the thing about it is, we don't need to be trying to fight against it, right? You have to be like a martial artist. There's a within martial arts, there's kind of a technique that's called blending, where you sort of blend with your opponent, where it's like, I'm going to blend with you for a moment, but I'm going to take you out. I'm going to win this thing, but I'm not really fighting against you a certain way. I'm allowing you to do what you do, and I'm gonna bring the best version of me, which is just going to end what you got coming here. And so that's how it is. It's not to start getting more in resistance and let me figure out a way to get out of here. No, because you've been trying to do that. That's not working. But now you do need the awareness. Now what happens next? Now you can definitely pray about this and ask, what are the best next steps? Because even if Tom and I tried to provide you with a roadmap of how to escape, remember, everybody's situation is different. So we never try to offer a cookie cutter system of things that would just work for everyone. No, the fundamentals that you needed were what we provided. Now, how you start to shift from this. Now, can we help with this? Absolutely, we can. But again, it's going to be unique. Everybody's situation is unique, but awareness is key. Expanded awareness is even better, but awareness isn't enough. So now that there's the awareness, now here's the empowerment in terms of how you can start to segue number one is do move in silence. You don't have to talk about what you're doing, to other people, or even trying to make other people understand. This is what's been happening to me. This is what I've been going through. No, you don't have to make a case or, a statement about what you've been going through. Now that you're aware of this. This is for you, this is for God, and maybe there are some other people that can help you in the dynamics. But you just need to be mindful. So Tom, I know we only got a few minutes left in this segment, but do you want to get in on this? Because, it's deep, especially around not just parental relationships, but even within marriages where, yeah, there are spouses who definitely set intentions that their spouse will never be able to leave them because financially they're going to need them, or just creating dynamics where a person just can't get ahead.
Yeah, and they'll be the last ones to see that's what they're doing.
Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
will deny it to the fullest and be like, well, no, yeah. I'm the one who's been doing this. I'm the one who's been helping. I'm the one who's this, that, you go, yeah, you sure have. But let me add what else you have been doing in the process of doing that and why.
Right. All the stuff you've been doing has been laced with something.
Exactly. Right. It sure has. And again, it is very much a form of practicing rebellion, resistance, and witchcraft, which the Bible talks about that. The spirit of rebellion and resistance is basically the spirit of witchcraft, meaning you're trying to control some dynamics, and this is not by divine will. But here's the deal. But is it used and is it leveraged by God? Absolutely. Joseph's brothers were able to put him in a pit and position him where he needed to go, where he needed to be, so that the grander promise could come, for sure. So when people are in these situations, is it for a reason sometimes? And can it be leveraged? Absolutely. And most of the time, what I know is that when people's finances are attacked in those ways, is that they actually have a big financial trajectory that wants to fill in, but in a very different, unique way. And sometimes it will seem like a suspension or a withhold in terms of what can reach them. And basically it's because some people are actually being called into that industry. There are various reasons, and we can talk about that in another segment, but yeah, but like I said, it gets leveraged. But the thing about it, these things are happening, and it is not the easiest thing to shift out. But what we are sharing today does provide that awareness for people to just say, well, I never thought about that. Because if I was to get financially straight and then just leave this situation, I'll just go on with my life. Yeah, but you may be actually being called to go into finance, or to write a book about it, or to teach somebody else about, your journey, or however. Don't just get out of it and then just like go do what you feel you got to do. You got to understand why were you able to be in that position. But yeah, so this, like I said, this is a very, very layered topic, but I wanted to at least bring it up and to at least introduce it, because it's going to help people too, to see, don't judge things. Things are always not what they seem. When you see a child that's still at home, or a grown person that's still at home, has to keep coming back, it maybe, I'm not saying every case, but sometimes it's not what it seems. Sometimes these parents have set it up where this is the person in the family that actually could be the millionaire or the billionaire. But if the parents don't want to be outdone in what they've done, oh, that's the child that gets targeted. But it'll look like they're the ones that keep helping this person out. See, when you see things and know things that most people don't, yeah, it's something. All right, Tom, we got about 3 minutes or so left here. What you got for us?
Yeah, everything you said was spot on. Like I said, I found myself in I don't want to call myself a victim, but
right.
basically, I've been the target of these situations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Especially with me growing up. My sister was the one that got the college degree, became a social worker. Got some other things going on, and they just thought I wasn't going to amount to nothing. But
Yeah, well,
I
that
just,
proved out to be wrong for sure.
oh yeah, so
Oh, that, yeah.
I just fell back and let her
Global
have her
icon
moment.
now, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I fell back and let her have her moment, and
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
I I just did my thing in the background,
Yep, exactly.
and since she was the favorite child, I let them put the burden of responsibility on her.
There you go. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what you have to allow to be, but yeah, so we're getting ready to close out here. This is a very important topic to bring up. Like I said, it definitely is going to bless some people tremendously and heighten their awareness. And then some people are going to be triggered and they'll be all right. Is that if you get triggered, you need to go and examine,
Yeah, yeah. Go on, look in the mirror.
That's
Like
it.
kept talking about, a hit dog always holler.
Always holler. Exactly. Right.
Okay,
Right.
and if you come for one of us after you get triggered, you're gonna get hit with both barrels.
Woo.
This ain't what you want.
Yeah, this ain't what you want. Fall back. Yes. All right. Thanks, Tom. So we're going to go ahead and close out here. We have definitely unmasked a deep topic, one of those unseen dynamics for sure. And we look forward to bringing more topics like this of this nature to you soon, because we want you to be empowered within your relationships. Just know you do have what it takes in order to rise yourself up like a phoenix and be able to come out of certain situations. All right, so look forward to being back with you again soon. Stay blessed.